You're listening to interview with DJ Nocturna. Thank you for tuning in to the show. I got a very interesting artist on the show. He is the founder and multi instrumentalist, producer, and all that, songwriter, Black Market Karma. Now I've got Stan Belton. Is that
Hey,
right?
that's it. That's me.
Yeah. How are you? How are you doing? And good evening over there in London, in England.
Good morning. Good morning in Hawaii.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say aloha. Yeah, that's what they say here, aloha. But yeah, so I know you're in Dover, which is by the water. We were just talking about that and how pretty it is. You connected to anything to do with the water. I mean, for me, that's like healing and really good for songwriting, right? Inspiration. Isn't that what
Yeah,
you that?
I'd say I'm always drawn to. I used to live in Paris, and I would find myself always going to the river and being by water.
Yeah. You
So
know,
it's like
if somebody
I'm always
asks,
drawn to it.
yeah, if somebody asks you, are you the ocean or the river? What would you say?
Maybe river.
Oh yeah,
If I
yeah.
had to pick, yeah,
Well, it's all
maybe.
water, right? It's water.
Yeah.
I used to be like that. I used to like the river, but then I'm surrounded by ocean, so I've always
I
liked
mean,
the
I have both. So I mean, I have the main river of Dover is right near where I live, and then
yeah,
I'm close to the sea too. So
yeah. It's so
I can
beautiful.
go in one direction and sit by a quiet river in the forest, or I can go in the other direction and stand on top of the white cliffs and see for miles and
The
see
white,
France, you know.
the white cliffs. I like that.
Yeah,
It's like a story. It's like a
it's
storybook.
amazing.
It's a poetry. It's
Yeah, it
poetry.
really is, yeah. With
Yeah.
the castle too, it's like the
Oh
view is
gosh,
mega.
you're so lucky. I mean, people say you're lucky to live in Hawaii, and I say you're lucky to live wherever you are. Because England to me is like beautiful. It's one of my favorite countries in the world. Like we mentioned, I've been close to. I think I've been to where you are. In passing though, I went to Canterbury, and all I could think about was Geoffrey Chaucer and what I learned in those beautiful poetry, and I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to go on a pilgrimage.
Well,
Um,
I mean, Kent is a beautiful place. Like
mhm.
the countryside around just around here where I live is, I mean, it stretches for miles and it's pretty untouched.
I know. I
And
mean,
you're allowed to walk on all of it too. Like it's not,
oh
most of it isn't off limits, you know, like a lot of places in the UK are. You can walk for miles and it's really stunning.
yeah.
It's good for the mind, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I was saying, wow, I was looking at where you live, and I'm saying, wow, that's what brings us inspiration, with the music that your psychedelic, your psychedelic genre, pop musical background that you have, So I can really see it. And you play various instruments, right?
Yeah, I play a few different things. I started out with a guitar.
Mm.
Um, well, actually, I played piano. Like very first thing I played was piano when I was like, I think I was about 8 or 9 years old,
Oh yeah.
and I had lessons, but I just didn't really connect to it. I
Mm.
always loved music, but I don't know why. I just wasn't enjoying that process of being taught. And then I got myself a guitar when I was about 13, and then I taught myself, and I just
Oh,
made progress way quicker. And then I ended up going back and learning to play. I wouldn't say I'm a pianist or anything, but I can play keys well enough to record my songs. And
oh,
I play drums. I'd say my drumming and my guitar playing are fairly equal. I play the harmonica. I've played sitar on some of our records,
oh,
and I
wow, yeah,
sing.
yeah. Beautiful.
So I do a few different things. I kind of do whatever I need to like make the song sound the way I want it to, and if I can't play it, I'll try and figure it out. You know.
So,
So
I read somewhere that you use like vintage equipment too, right?
yeah. Most of my stuff is like 60s
Yeah, yeah,
or 70s. I have a few modern things, but even the modern things I have are based on they're like reissues or they're based on old stuff.
yeah. So
So
the older vintage equipment is what gives that amazing quality of sound.
yeah, I don't think you can really beat it. Not for this kind of music. Not for that kind of guitar music, sort of 60s pop influence kind of sound. Those instruments were just the best, and they haven't
I
really
know,
been
yeah, yeah.
beaten, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. People say, when you hear music, I grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s. And it was different back then, the music, disco and what I grew up listening to, disco and classic rock and 80s dance music, which I play in the clubs and things like that. So it's different. I mean, the music is just music is beautiful. It just transcends through time, right? And,
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, it's magic. It's
totally.
real life magic, I think.
So Black Market Karma, how did you began this project? I know you're the main guy here, and I'm so glad I have you on the show. And big shout out to Shameless Promotion PR. I know you've been with her for Shauna, for a while. From her Ape Flare and Hijack Ideas, right? And
Yeah,
so I've been watching, the evolution of your albums.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we got to do this interview.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So,
So.
how did it start? It's just I just always wanted to. Became obsessed with music, and then I learned to play the guitar, and then I got to a point where I was good enough to start trying to make my own music.
Yeah.
And then I think I just was obsessed with wanting to make albums. So I kind of slowly taught myself how to do that. How to play enough instruments to do it all on my own, and how to record myself, produce myself, which is, there's quite a big learning curve. But I guess with the help of, like, if you've got good intuition and good ears, and you have, like,
Hmm.
YouTube, for example, is just unbelievably powerful for self-teaching. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's kind of how I figured my way through it. And I didn't really want it to just be my name, so I came up with a band name,
Mhm.
and then formed a band around it, and we
How'd you come
started
up
to
with
play
that?
live.
Yeah, tell her, how did you come up with that, with Black Market Karma?
The name, I don't really remember that well. I mean, I was quite young when I came up with that name. There were a few bands that I discovered that were current, but they were keeping that more retro sound alive, and they had black in their name, and I kind of just started there. And the idea of the black market karma, we were giving away our music for free in the beginning, and I guess the idea was, like, to create, um to like the idea was, like, by giving that music away for free, that would kind of create,
Mhm.
pull people towards us and get people to, like, give something back in the end.
Yeah.
That was kind of the idea, and I thought the band name kind of made sense with that. It kind of sounded like what that, um it kind of encapsulated that attitude, I guess. Like, black market, it's kind of underground, and we were just giving these
Yeah,
records
that's
away
what
at the
I thought.
start. And,
I thought
I mean, it's
about.
very different now, but yeah,
Hmm.
when I first started, yeah, I guess it's like bringing yourself, like, good karma was the idea of it. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, I mean, so many bands have the word black in their name, especially in the, like, psych rock scene, and
Hmm.
so I think everyone, I think everyone in a band probably doesn't really like their band name anymore. But after a while, it kind of just becomes synonymous with
Kind
the
of stuck with
sound.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you stop hearing the band name really. You just associate the name with the music. So
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it really for a long time. I just went with that when I was a teenager, and then it just kind of stuck.
Hmm. And I know you're inspired by the 60s. Do you have a particular inspirational song, or you like the first song you learned on the guitar? What would that, you recall that?
Um,
It's
I don't remember, to be honest.
probably too far back.
Um, I'd say the earliest stuff that was 60s that really kind of flipped my wig and made me like, oh, I want to make music like this. It was probably like Velvet Underground and Dylan.
Yeah.
I remember I had a John Lennon solo record called the Plastic Ono Band.
Hmm.
Like, I just had a jumbled collection of CDs I found that were my dad's, and I like ripped them all onto my, like, I had this sort of MP3 player thing at the time, like a
Hmm.
knockoff iPod, and I ripped a bunch of the albums that looked interesting. And when I was younger, I was traveling a lot on the train to get to school and stuff, and I would listen to music on those journeys. And the '60s stuff was one of the first things that inspired me. But I then kind of branched out and I found bands that kind of kept that spirit alive and furthered it and took it somewhere new. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that stuff was sort of like late '80s, '90s into the early 2000s. I started to discover like, I guess for my young mind, it was really exciting to realize that that wasn't dead at all. Like people were
Yeah,
still
yeah.
keeping that alive. And it wasn't just retro, like they were doing something worthwhile with it too, which kind of inspired me to want to do that. So I do love '60s music, like I adore it, but I wouldn't say I'm sort of trying to revive it or something.
Oh yeah,
I
no.
like a lot of bands that are current too, but they have something of that sort of sensibility to their music. So I've always been drawn to that. It's kind of like the thing of the '60s where they would have these like quite pretty pop songs, but there would be this grip and dirt to the tone of the sound, like Velvet Underground or the Trogs, or I guess the Beatles did it really well.
I know.
It's not totally sanitary, which I like.
Yeah, yeah. I love the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, and just the whole project. Yeah, is very yeah. I totally get it. So this I know you've written you've released like several albums already, and what is it? This is the 11th one. I'm trying to remember.
Uh,
Is that like the 11th album?
we've got 11, and we just released like a standalone single
Right.
with
That's a
Sonic
collaboration.
Boom. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's with
yeah.
Sonic Boom. Yeah,
So the Friends and Noise, that's a collaboration album with friends, I guess you could say. With
yeah, yeah.
a bunch of guys, there's just a bunch of talent. So you want to talk about it a little bit? How did that come about?
Um, it wasn't something that I had any plan to do. It just sort of over the years,
No.
traveling around playing and making friends with musicians, and sometimes collaborations would just sort of happen. And then I remember like at one point a few years after, like looking through all of my unreleased music. So I make a lot of music, and I was looking at these collabs and they
Hmm.
were starting to add up. And I kind of thought like could be cool if this is all in one place on a record. And it'd be nice too, because it's just your friends together on one thing. Um, so then I reached out to a couple more of my buddies to try and record a few more to
Uh,
like have enough for it to be a release.
yeah, and
So so the general, like, the kind of genesis of it wasn't planned at all. It just kind of come together, but then actually making it a record and finishing it was kind of more proactive. I was like, okay, who else could I record with that would suit this, and we could have, like 5 or 6 people on here. And it came together, and then had to get everyone to agree
hmm
on it, because that can be a bit of a nightmare when there's so many people involved. But yeah, they're all those people, like, they're great. They're
yeah,
really easy to work with, like, and
yeah. I
yeah,
like.
it was exciting to get it out, because some of those songs have been around for years, but no one's heard them. Like some of the tracks on there are from like 2015, and then some are more recent. But yeah,
So they
it's
were
kind of
just.
like a little historical document in a way,
Yeah.
just me and
Okay.
my mates. So.
See. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this was released in June, right? Just recently.
Yeah,
It's called the Friends in Noise, and that's the LP release on. Is that the record label Flower Power Records?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And you want to talk about each collaboration? I mean, I'm just curious too because I really like Aping Flare.
Yeah, that's with my friend Rory. Um, he's someone I've known for a long time. Like when I was a teenager and we were playing like our first kind of gigs in London, we played a venue and they played the same venue as us but on a different stage, and we caught at the end of each other's sets, and there was kind of a kindred thing there, and we became mates. And like, I've known him for like 15 years or something now. And they came and he came over and hung out at my studio like years ago, and that we started kind of just jamming some ideas, and that the basis of that song came together, and then we there was never any vocals, and we kind of forgot about it for years and years. And then I stumbled across it again, like ages later, just like shuffling my iPod because I still use an old iPod. Like,
Oh
and
yeah.
this demo we made came on, and I started to. I was actually decorating my house at the time, so I was like rolling the walls, and I just like when you're in the flow, and
Yeah, you bust out your record music and
yeah, the lyrics just started like lyrics, and a vocal melody came to me for it, which hadn't before.
oh
So I
really?
just immediately messaged him. I was like, "Man, I think I've finished this. Like, we should record this properly. It's
Oh,
cool, you know."
wow, that's so cool.
And then he came to the studio and we finished it. And that was one of the earlier ones
So you were
that ended up on there.
you were painting and then the lyrics were coming out.
Yeah, I was rolling the walls, and
Oh,
I
that's
just
good.
kind of come. I think when you're active like that, your brain's more.
Uh-huh.
There's more connections in your brain, you know? So sometimes it can come easier. And I was like, man, like I think I've got something for this. We should finish it because I'd forgotten about it for years. Like I think we were drunk when we made it, but
Oh really?
so we just kind of forgot about it. It's just we just put a mic in the middle of the room and we were
But you
just
know
making stuff up.
they say good stuff come about when you least expect it, right? When you don't plan it, right?
Yeah, I think so because you're kind of open to receiving it almost. It's like a signal from somewhere else or something.
I
But
mean,
yeah, that's how that came to be.
I know you're a songwriter, right? Do you normally write the music first, write the lyrics first, and then something comes about? Or I know in this case it was the opposite, right?
It's usually music first, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost always music. And then I usually like have a vocal melody, but I'm kind of just humming kind of gibberish. And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes a line will come out and it will make some kind of sense. And then I'll latch onto that line and kind of figure out what the song could be about. And then I start to write words around it. Sometimes I write words first, but it's usually if I have a piece of music stuck in my head or I walk and listen to music a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I'll start to sing along to someone else's song and I find myself making up new lyrics to it sometimes, just kind of without really thinking about it. And I'll write them
Wow.
down and then it's like, okay, I can't use that melody because it's someone else's, but I'll have some new words. And that's usually the only other way that I might write. Like words could come first in that instance, and then I have to find a song for them to fit. But usually, nearly always, it's the other way around. So it's always music first.
Yeah, and the other there's six tracks in this one, and I know there were different remixes and collaboration, and these guys they just wanted to contribute, right? The other artists in here.
Yeah, like the remix of so there's a song called Heady Ideas, which is like one of our older tracks. It's one of our most popular songs apparently. But my buddy just sent me a message and was like, "Do you fancy a remix?" His name's Joakim. He plays in a band called Le Big Bird from Sweden,
Mhm.
but he's played in like a lot of different stuff. Like he's had Iggy Pop work on songs with him and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, he just said, "Do you fancy a remix one night?" And I was like, "Sure." So I sent him the stems, and he made this kind of like put this fat like dance beat on it and totally changed the whole feeling of it. And I said, "All right, well, do you want one back?"
You like it?
So then yeah, I loved it. So
Yeah.
and then I said I chose one of his songs and said, "Can I do a remix of this?" So we remixed each other's bands, and so that's why they're both on there. I thought it made sense to have them on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the one with Tess Parks was the same. Like we were just she used to live down the road from me, and sometimes we would just go hang out at the studio just for something to do. And
And
I
that
was looping some ideas. Like I have a loop pedal, so I was looping the chords and playing these guitar melodies, and she liked it. And I heard her sort of behind me out of the corner of my eye, it's like started humming, and she was writing words down. She
Mhm.
showed me what she had, and I was like, "This is really cool. Let's record it." Like it's usually how it goes. It's not really like it
Yeah,
just kind of happens,
it just happens. Yeah.
and you know when it's good, because everyone feels
Yeah. The
excited about it. So yeah, that kept happening, and then at one point I was like, "Well, there's enough of these to if I record one or two more, we can make a record." So that's kind of how it went.
I know you recorded a lot of music through the years, and some of them you haven't released it, right? Like for example, that one that you just that we talked about that was on your iPod, right? Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
do you I know you've been writing and writing and you keep them. So do you have something planned like coming up? I mean, with those hidden tracks that you haven't released yet.
Yeah, I've got probably like something like 6 albums worth of material that's all recorded and ready to go.
With
I've
lyric?
got there. That's yeah, it's all finished. Like it's
Oh,
mastered and everything.
really? Wow.
Yeah, it's done. I'd
Uh-huh.
say there are 4 records that I definitely want to release out of those, and I'm
Oh,
trying to find homes for them at the moment because I want to bring them all out quite close to each other. That's,
do they are they like collaborations or just strictly your stuff?
no, it's just me. It's just me. Like I think yeah, all of it's just me on my own. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 songs with my younger brother that we made together, but
Oh,
it's
yeah, yeah.
mostly just me. It's I
Finley.
was making stuff
Is that
constantly for years,
Yeah,
so
Finley, right?
Finley, yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
yeah, my little
Yeah,
brother.
I know you worked with him before. Yeah.
Yeah, we've written a few songs together,
So
but yeah,
I
there's tons of it.
yeah, I know one of your collaborations with Sonic Boom, you know, Pete Pete Kember, all right?
Yeah, 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 that's right.
So how did that collaboration take place? I know you
So he's originally known for being in a band called Spacemen 3. He's like one of the founding members and songwriters who, if you don't know them, they kind of continue, it's in my opinion, they kind of continued the Velvet Underground sort of spirit but in the 80s.
hmm
They kind of brought that music back in a time when like it really wasn't trendy. Um, I don't know how well they did in their day, but they've become a very respected, like influential
Oh yeah,
band. They influenced my band since I was a teenager,
I
you
know,
know.
yeah. It's wonderful.
So I woke up one morning to a message from him about because I do live performances on social media sometimes, and he heard one of the songs and really liked it, and I woke up to a really nice message from him about it, which was cool for me because he's an influence to me, and I think he's great.
Mm.
And he seemed to have some ideas about things that could be added to it. So I just took my chance and was like, well, do you want to record it together? So we sent the tracks back and forth over the web and he kind of produced it with me. He played synth on it and added some things to it. That's how that came to be.
Yeah,
But it
and
was really exciting for me because, like I say, he's someone who I respect musically. I think he's great.
yeah, so this there's two tracks in here, right? Uh,
Yeah, there's two.
South
Yeah,
and
there's the one that we did together,
uh-huh.
and then I wanted to release it as a single, so I was, thought, old fashioned style, I'll make a B-side for it. So the second one is just me. It's something I made specially to go with it.
Oh, the wisdom.
Wisdom shifter, yeah, yeah,
Wow, and that's let me see, that just came out, right? In August.
yeah. It's only just come out.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's one of the newest ones. So are we gonna see more stuff like this like coming out like from the hidden stuff that you haven't released yet?
yeah. There's loads of it. I've got to figure out like what the release schedule will be and what
Yeah.
label it'll be on and things. But there's a lot of it, and I really want to get it out because some of it to me is quite old. I made it a long time because I used to make tons and tons of stuff in my old studio. I've moved to Dover, like you said, so I'm working to work on building a new studio, but I haven't had a studio properly for a while. I can do recordings and like I can take my drums to the church down the road and do stuff, but I can't work as properly like as prolifically as I could.
At the
But
church?
in that old studio, I made so
Oh,
much stuff that like I'm now still kind of releasing it. It's all starting to come out.
oh,
We're
yeah.
catching up because I made loads of stuff.
I mean,
And
what are some of the themes that inspires you when you write it, when you write music, when it just comes out? I mean, just like something just happens when you're walking or when you're
sometimes I do write lyrics quite a lot when I'm walking. I think because I mean this is a proven thing where like if you oh sorry my battery's low I think. It's a proven thing like if you walk like steadily for I think it's something like 15-20 minutes like all of your brain activity widens like there are more connections in your brain. And I find if I do that and listen, say like I need some words for a song, I can listen to the music of the song that I've recorded and walk to it. and start to. I find it a lot easier to write lyrics when I'm in that sort of exercise mode in a way.
Yeah,
So
because
that's one way that I do it. But the music just, I don't know how to explain it really. It just kind of comes. And sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't.
yeah.
I think the main thing is I have to just always have an instrument around and make sure I'm open to it. So if I get that feeling of inspiration, I don't miss it, like I capture it.
So do you type it in your, when something hits you and you're walking, do you just take your phone and you write it in, or do you say something on your phone and just
Yeah, I'll write it down
yeah,
and
yeah.
just make loads of messy notes and then refine it later. That's
Oh
usually
yeah.
how I do it. Um, the themes I don't know. I mean, they're obviously like love songs, which is the most common thing ever. But it's interesting to do that and maybe have it be somewhat vague and not too straightforward. I mean, there are songs about um, attachments to your man's attachment to animals and what it's like to lose a pet, or there are
Mm.
songs about like I have this feeling of like sort of intangible nostalgia sometimes. It's almost like a melancholy, but not quite, and I can't really place why I feel like that sometimes, and I try and capture that in words. And I don't, yeah, I kind of just write about. I've written about like folklore. I've written about
Oh yeah, everything.
whatever. Yeah, just whatever feels right.
Yeah. I mean that.
I like to try and make it not so it's not too obvious most of the time
Yeah. Well,
because I think it's people get more out of it when it's not spelled out black and white to them.
what about live shows? What is it like over there in Dover? Uh,
Dover, I haven't played in Dover.
I mean,
I
I
wouldn't say
I
there's
can't I
much of
don't
a
know. I
music
mean,
scene here.
there's not. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Not really,
There.
no.
But
There are
it's
a few bars and stuff. I'm thinking about maybe taking an acoustic guitar and just performing in some bars around here to see what it's like, just
oh
for
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I wish I
But
could. I wish I can go to Dover.
yeah, you probably
Yeah.
like it. It's
Oh yeah,
if you
yeah.
like
Ocean.
if you
Yeah,
like nature, it's beautiful.
yeah.
But London's not far, like so we play London, and
Oh,
we've got
yeah.
Europe. The European continent is like just a train ride away or a ferry. So we go over there and play a lot.
Yeah, that'll be good. The acoustic thing in the bar there, bar set. That'll be great. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I'm thinking of giving it a go.
yeah. There's a big population there, right, in Dover. A
Yeah, and
lot.
there's a few neighboring towns that are nice places. That get a lot of there's
Yeah,
quite a lot of activity going on. So
yeah.
I
Well,
think something could like happen here. It needs to just be built.
yeah.
It's a bit dead for music.
Well, then you
But
got to start it.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'd like to change it.
Yeah. Well, so anybody out there that's listening, if you live in Dover and nearby, Black Market Karma will be doing acoustic. Stan would be out there doing his music, and with the vintage instruments, right? And that's the wonderful thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got them all. I've got them here. I'll show you.
Oh yeah,
Let's
I
see
was
this.
gonna. Yeah, I would love to see that. So where
How
do
do I
you find
switch the
those things?
camera?
Where do you find
There
the
you go.
stuff? Oh yeah, right there. Have you had that
My
for a while?
bass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had these for years. I mean, these are all 60s and 70s guitars. There's like old
Oh
amps and
man, yeah,
stuff.
beautiful.
That's not all of our gear, but I have a bunch of it nearby.
Uh,
So,
uh, like the Jesus and
so I
Mary
can grab
chain.
it when I need to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same bass as Jesus and
yeah,
Mary chain.
yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh,
Well spotted. Yeah.
I love the Jesus and Mary chain. Psycho Candy.
Yeah, me
Like
too.
I grew up listening to Psycho Candy. Um,
Yeah, I discovered that when I was probably like 17. I
yeah.
remember I went and bought the CD. That was one of the bands that inspired me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Wow, gosh, it's a pleasure to have you in the show, and we're looking forward to your upcoming. Maybe you would do an acoustic album. I don't know. Maybe an acoustic.
Yeah, yeah, there are definitely enough recordings that people haven't
I
heard
would love
yet
to
that
hear that. I would love.
could
I love
make an acoustic
acoustic.
one.
I love acoustic, and to hear it in a vintage instrument is even
Yeah,
yeah.
or I could send you some videos. I play acoustic sometimes, just on my own. I
Yeah.
have a using harmonica and stuff sometimes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
like Woody Guthrie or Dylan or something. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. I love doing that. You don't have the when you play in a band, you kind of have the sheer volume to like make people take notice. Because when you play somewhere on your own, especially if you just play in a bar for fun to people that don't know you, um, takes a lot more like to win them over because you can't just like have a loud drum kit, make them take notice. And I kind of like the rush of that sometimes. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just you and your guitar and like
Well, for me,
and a good song. Like all you have is a good song to win them over. There's no tricks, like there's no gimmicks, which I think is quite gives you a rush.
yeah. And I feel like you have that presence, really to do it on your own. You don't need a band, really, and your vocals and
Thanks.
yeah. I think yeah, I would love to hear the acoustic set, especially on the vintage instrument. And I think that's a
I'll
great
send you some. There's
yeah.
a few on YouTube. There's a few live videos and stuff of acoustic stuff.
Yeah, I think if I lived in Dover, I would go watch. I would go. I like going into a bar and just watching the current band. I have no idea. It's just it's not like I go there for that reason, but I go and I check it out, and then I actually meet a lot of people, and I get introduced to the music by just listening to stuff. Which is great.
Yeah, it's nice for it to happen that way sometimes. In a day, I guess, an age where like most of it's online. It's nice to discover something that isn't.
Hmm.
It's just you're just discovering it by chance in the real world. It's not
Yeah,
because it's been recommended to you by like an algorithm.
yeah,
Although I will say some of them are getting pretty good, and I've found a lot of good music from that.
yeah,
So I guess it's all got its place. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's something more special about it when you just walk in and see something and you're like, damn, this is good. I've
yeah,
made friends like that, from like I say, like with Rory, I saw him playing with his band. I
yeah.
liked him and went and talked to him, and then now we've been friends for like 15 years or something.
Yeah, I mean, I discovered bands from like opening bands in a concert, and then I'm like, wow, that opening band is amazing, and I started listening to them. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we supported the Black Angels this year, so that was what happens for us. We got a chance to like win a
Mhm.
bunch of new fans who didn't know us because we were playing to like sort of over 1,000 people every night.
Yeah.
Um, and we had like half an hour to win them over, before the Black Angels played. That was cool. That was amazing.
So if anybody wanted to check out your music, what would be the best website? Or I know you're in Twitter, you're in Instagram, Facebook, Black Market Karma.
Yeah, I would say in terms of social media, I use Instagram the most because I just put a lot of like the creative process, sort of like live videos. I just perform songs, and so if you're really into that stuff, or if you're into gear and stuff, it's probably the best place to follow us. But if you like vinyl, you can get it from Flower Power.
Oh yeah, I
If you
know.
go to if you just look up Flower Power Records, they have a mailing list. It's best to sign up to that, and you'll get notifications about stuff. So
Mhm.
if you're a vinyl head, that's like the place to go. And I think you can buy the music digitally on Bandcamp. So if you want to buy like high quality files,
Yeah.
or you can stream it like everywhere, all the usual places.
Yeah, and your music is also available on vinyl, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
I mean that's something you guys for sure. And I love that. I love vinyl, the quality of vinyl and all that. And it lasts for your lifetime, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
There's
does.
some,
It does last longer. Um
yeah,
and I hope they never get rid of vinyl. Uh anyway.
yeah, me too. There's something nice about owning I think seeing the artwork of a record in that larger format and having it be
Yep,
tangible. There's,
absolutely.
there's something nice about it.
I still remember my old vinyl when I grew my first vinyl that I bought, many, 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 many years ago. So
Yeah, I've got a record player just in the next room.
do you have a vintage record player as well?
No, it's not new. I think it's sort of I think it might be 90s.
Yeah.
It's a Technics one, but it's
Oh yeah, that's
It's
a deep.
direct drive, so it's really
Oh,
solid
okay,
and
yeah, yeah,
it sounds amazing.
yeah. I got
But
that.
I've got some 70s speakers in there.
Oh, okay, yeah. I still remember the record players back in the day, the phonographs, I guess you can say. I still
Yeah, yeah,
remember how they, it would it's different now, of course, not the same, but I still remember that. I used to have it. I wish I never got rid of it. Just, all those
yeah,
things you wish for. Now that you
yeah.
came back, where will I ever get this again? I mean, I
A
wouldn't
lot of
be,
people say that to me.
yeah. I don't know where I would buy the needles anyway if I kept it. I don't know if they'll still make needles. That's another thing.
Yeah, you can still get all that stuff.
You
It's
can?
quite easy to get. Yeah, it's quite popular now. A lot
Really?
of people are buying records again.
Well,
Yeah, you can buy everything.
I have a techniques, but they're not not from the 70s, they're more like DJ stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's why I have the same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, it's great. It sounds amazing.
yeah.
It's really solid. It doesn't fluctuate in speed. Like it's very,
Oh
very
yeah.
reliable.
And they're
Like
constantly.
I used to have some friends who were like they love playing records, but every time you put a record on in their house, like the music would be like slightly pitched up and too fast. And they kept having it service, and I don't think they could tell, but I was just like, all these songs don't quite sound right. Like the record player's not, it's
Oh,
slightly too
really?
quick. It made
Oh, they're
it
gonna
sound a bit
change.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think with the direct drive ones, like those DJ ones, they're more solid
Oh
because
yeah.
there's no belt in them. So
And you could change the
they're
speed.
more, yeah, they're more sturdy.
Yeah. Well, well, gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking a little bit about your music. And I learned so much about you and your next album and record that you're going to be releasing, and your you're showing up there, which I wish I can attend. Um, uh, but anyway, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to come play in Hawaii sometime.
No, yeah, you should. You should, honestly.
That'd be amazing.
A lot of people. Have you ever thought about coming? Have you been in this side of the world? Like, I don't know. If you've been to California.
No, I mean, I went to Florida when I was a kid, but I don't
Okay.
remember it too well. I haven't been to the States. Like,
Oh,
that's the only time I've been to the States.
yeah. Well, if
But
you,
I'm sure we'll come
I
back.
was gonna say if you live in California, it's just 5 hours after that. So
Yeah, yeah, right,
or you can go around the other way, and I don't know how long that's gonna take
yeah.
the other way. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I hope to go back to England again. Dover. But
Yeah, come and check out Dover. Go see the castle.
oh yeah, I love the castle there.
It'll blow you away. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I probably won't want to leave. I'll probably want to live in the castle. All right.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Stanley Belton, Black Market Karma. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Nice
Okay.
to meet you.